So I managed to catch up on Ms. Marvel, and so that's 4 episodes in, and oh man, it just goes to crap and falls apart. It's terrible. No, it's continuing on as it has established itself with this rather basic story that a lot of it came across as like it would have been fine as like this sitcom about this Pakistani family in Jersey and all that. But then there's the superhero stuff that's tossed onto it, you know. Of course, it's getting more to the superhero stuff at this point, which it's an origin story, you know. Quite a few liberties getting far afield from the comic book story. But I did not like the comic book, so this is one of those incidences where it's an improvement not to, to do that. But anyway, the story is weaved in through Pakistani history, the partition, and all of that, and it fits in with how this comes about, because you know the bracelet or bangle, as they're referring to it, is the starting point of Kamala's superpowers, and it's always like, oh well, it's this family heirloom that she finds in a box of stuff, and she's, oh yeah, I like the look of that, and then it just, you know, and then so now the backstory goes, oh, just by chance she found, well, not necessarily, because this was something left behind in her past, and so you know, her mother had these moments where she's, you know, a bit disturbed about things, so she witnessed something, you know, this type of thing, and then it connects to a grandmother, then to a great grandmother, and so on, and we get a look at the past of what this is, and it revolves around a group of people, and her crush, Cameron. He is the son of one of these people who they're pan-dimensional beings, or extra dimension. They're from another dimension, and appear to be the inspiration for the jinn, which is these creatures that eventually the myths of genies and whatnot, but also it's a pre-Islamic mythological creature, if you will. And then after Islam, I think they weaved it into more that they're probably mischievous, if not nefarious, entities, and all of that. But anyway, so this is what they reveal, and that Kamala is descended from because of her great grandmother having been one of them, and that they were trying to get the bangle because it's a means by which they can return to their dimension. So it seems all well enough. They call themselves clandestines, but it says yeah, we were referred to as the jinn. They're not invisible, which the jinn often are, but and I haven't. They're all excellent fighters, mostly martial arts type thing, but I haven't seen any evidence of any kind of superpowers or anything like that. But anyway, all is not well. Turns out there's a nefarious plot here, and only Cameron feels bad, so he actually it's his mother that's the leader of the group, but he doesn't want Kamala to be hurt and all this stuff. So turns out he's a good guy, if not somewhat conflicted, but what are you going to do? And because it would have been easier if he was just the bad guy, so then that would work out for Bruno. It looks like Matt Smith's younger brother, but of course he's all infatuated with Kamala, and she seems blissfully unaware of this. But yeah, that's high school romance stuff. So anyway, one of the things about this is that it's shot very well, because having watched this at the same time I was watching Kenobi and just being startled by how cheap it looked in Kenobi, and I'm still rather startled by it, and it just all comes down to who can understand and make best use of the new projected screen technology that they're using, that really the Mandalorian spearheaded and did it very well, and yet in Kenobi it looked terrible. I don't know how much of any of that is used in Ms. Marvel, but it doesn't really matter. It's just whoever is orchestrating these scenes and seeing that they do it very well, it's choreographed very well, and so that it doesn't have any kind of sloppiness that pushes you out of the story. So in Destined, where you get more clues and whatnot as to what this is all about, it ends up having a big action scene at her brother's wedding, and it goes pretty, again, the choreography is very good. She's still learning her powers, but she's getting better and better at it. And I'm guessing, because there was already a clue that, and they reveal this, that she's at least half clandestine, or jinn, if you will. And that's where they're going with this. As for why, because not just anybody could put the bangle on and they've got powers. It appears that no, it reacts to people like Kamala, and then like Bruno even discovered, it's almost as if the power's inside you and it's like focusing it or something like that. And that's probably exactly what it is. Interestingly enough, in the flashback scene where the clandestines found the bangle, they mentioned there was two, but they only found the one, and they said, "Yeah, we can use it to get back home." They took it off of the mummified hand, which looked blue, and I kind of wondered if this is a nod to the Kree, because the original, all the Captain Marvel and all that stuff spins out of Marvel. And I wonder if they had some sort of connection to it. Within the comics, it's later revealed that Kamala is an Inhuman, which was this group of people that the Kree, genetically engineered and all that. So, she's somehow descended from them and that sort of thing. So I'm wondering if it's just a nod, or if they're going to have some sort of, the Kree will play some role in this that led to the clandestines, and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, what's the problem with letting them get back home? Well, it seems the next episode, she gets a message from her grandmother, and the next episode, Seeing Red, which is not in reference to any of that movie. No, she goes back to Pakistan to meet up with the grandmother. Travels there with her mother to Karachi, and her grandmother, she's a goofy old lady, and doesn't know how to operate her phone, so they gets funny out of that. But she knows more about this history, and the rest of it is her reuniting with her daughter, Kamala's mother. She says, "Why don't you come home?" And she's still broken by what happened as a result of the partition and stuff, this big separation between India and Pakistan and all that stuff, and how nasty it all got. And he says, "Why don't you just come to America?" And yet she's in Pakistan, but she's really looking to India as where she really came from, and the pain is still there. And that sort of thing, as far as her personal story. So going to America would be even further. Wouldn't really deal with what bothers her, and it's sadly it's just going to be there for the rest of her life, and that's that. Meanwhile, Kamala is searching for answers, and then she runs into this group, sort of a secret a vigilante group that are aware, not just aware, they seem to know the whole story top to bottom about the clandestines and whatnot. They call themselves the Red Daggers. And some of it gets a little too silly between this boy and Kamala. So now she's got Bruno, she's got Cameron, and now this guy. So she's got her choice, but he's, super duper martial artist type guy and all this stuff. And so, so they duke it out for a little bit, but then he, tells her that he was, I guess he was testing her or whatever. And, so brings her to this super duper secret undercover underground facility that looks ancient and whatnot. But it's, there's a secret passageway in this restaurant and all this stuff. So, and meets his mentor, who tells her the whole story. So the problem with the clandestines getting back home is that it's not they're going back home. It's like once they get control of the bangle and use it as they want, basically the clandestines world just overtakes the Earth and replaces it. So that means everybody on Earth would die. They would cease to exist, and all that sort of stuff. And then the clandestine world would take its place. So apparently they can't just open the door and go back. That's what will happen. Of course, the clandestines say, hey, it sucks to be you, but we want our home. So that's the situation as it appears. So the clandestines show up, they fight, they ended up, and there's a big chase scene through Karachi and all that stuff. And that's all shot very well, too. I don't know. I guess it was shot on location. I mean, I'm sure some of it was. I don't know. But, and of course, with the tight streets and whatnot, it'd be pretty easy to, well, maybe not easy, but I mean, to set that up and get your framing devices. So again, doesn't push you out of the story to where it looks flat or this is obviously fake or something like that. But no, it looks all very convincing and all that stuff. So they're being chased, and she uses her powers here and there, and but ultimately the mentor gets killed by clandestine mama. And at one point, obviously somewhat inadvertently, Kamala opens a portal. She's struggling with the bangle with clandestine mama. I'm forgetting her name at the moment. Cameron's evil mom. They're fighting with, and this causes this doorway to open up, and Kamala falls through it, and suddenly she's in the past. So there's the trains and the people escaping into Pakistan or vice versa, all that mess that happened in the partition and what have you. And so my guess is she's really back there, and she's not, or maybe it's just a vision. Either way, she's going to get a front row seat of the story that leads to the bangle, and probably more of what it is and everything like that. So it's 4 episodes in. I don't know how many they have in total. I think there's only like 2 or 3 left, so it's kind of, but I don't know how if they could have sped it up or whatnot, because she's not in her super suit yet. So I guess this is one of those where they'll have her fully in her Ms. Marvel suit and all that, and probably they'll be a Brie Larson cameo. But what are you gonna do, And but that, and then think, hey, hopefully there'll be a second season. I don't know. It's not doing well. All the from what I can gather of numbers and whatnot, but it had an uphill battle to begin with, a tough row to hoe, because the comic books origins are terrible. That whole thing with Sana Amanat and all that, and just virtue signaling, all that crap, that was woke in and of itself, of that, and just the superficial cheapness of it. However, the TV show is very different. The TV show, in a lot of ways, less is more, in the sense of the basics of the, hey, it's this girl, she discovers a family secret and it leads to this adventure. There you go. As simple as that, just saying, hey, there's a lot of Muslim stuff in it. Yeah, because she's a Muslim. That's simple. That's not jarring or anything. That in and of itself is not woke. And it's not going to kill you to learn a little history lesson about another country. And so it's fine. It's fine. It's very similar. Like I said, I thought similar experience to Stargirl, which is like, I'm not a teenage girl. Why? And it's still, is this show really for me? No, not really. But I could understand somebody taking to it, especially girls and that sort of thing. But as far as being as bad as the previous ones of the D+ Marvel shows, no. This is, I can't believe it. I would have thought, how did they resist the urge? And probably they did do a woke version of this, because remember, it got reshot. Well, it looks like the reshoot did its job. because there just really isn't there. You know, they got this crew that turns out is the Damage Control, and that was a series that Marvel did years ago, where they came up with this idea of a group that there literally are Damage Control. It's like superhero battles would happen, and then, you know, and they thought, hey, you know, there's got to be a cleanup crew because of all the damage done. Like the Hulk freaks out, and the Avengers got to take him down or whatever in New York or something like that. But the after effects they never really deal with. Well, that was Damage Control's job to come in, and especially like you would imagine that would be the group formed to deal with the Chitauri invasion, with all the, in which they led to the plot for the Vulture and Spider-Man and all that stuff, was all this laying around alien technology and how dangerous that could be. So that would be a group to collect all that and, you know, classify it and seal it away and stuff like that. So here they are investigating this superhero incident with Kamala, and now they're sticking their nose. So the idea is that this is an allegory for Muslims being investigated because of the aftermath of 9/11 and that sort of thing. It's not quite there to do things like that, but there's some scenes where, you know, the people at the mosque are a bit irritated that these agents show up, and you know, that kind of thing. But stuff like that happens. So it's not, and they don't go overboard with it and all that sort of stuff. And ultimately, I don't know that it's going to make out that the Damage Control people are the villains. It doesn't really look like it at the moment. They're just sort of, there's an irritation and an uneasy relationship there. And if that's all it is, I'm not going to have a problem with that. It's important to remember that in a lot of these cases over the years, over the 20 years of what, I don't know what to call it, the terror war, you would have mosques and imams contact the FBI and said, this guy's scary, you might want to look at him, and, you know, and it led to arrest and that sort of thing. So it just didn't get the notice it should. But, you know, these were decent American citizens saying, I'm worried, this guy's saying a lot of stuff and I don't know, but, you know, and you know, and that did happen. So it's not just to immediately have the knee-jerk reaction because the left exploited Muslims and all that as these poor little guys that only they could save and that sort of thing, and tokenize them. And so it's, you can understand why people immediately have this reaction to it and assume that. But in the context of the show, and you have to judge the show objectively on what it is, and it's really very simple. It's just this basic girl superhero adventure story, and that's it. The rest of it, Pakistani stuff, well, that's just interesting because I'm not familiar, because I'm not Pakistani, you know, and that sort of thing. There's nothing wrong with that, and in fact, it's a good thing. You know, you might learn something, even though it's superheroes and stuff like that. But as far as anything, it's like, golly, I really hate being who I am now. No, it's not doing that. So it's past time to. There's no justification for it at this point. It's 4 episodes in. If you watched it, you can't really make a case that this is a propaganda, woke propaganda type thing. Probably was originally. Who knows what that original stuff said? And they said, cut all that out, reshoot it, and they did their job. But again, it's weighted down by an awful lot of stuff. And that goes back to the comic book. I mean, you say, hey, let's make a Muslim superhero. Okay, great. Well, first of all, let's make it a legacy derivative character of someone. Jeez. So, you know, you cut it off right at the outset with stuff like that. You weigh it down, and it's unfair. But there it is. So, will it get a second season? Because even now compounded by the economy, and that's really going to hit hard. So a lot of shows that probably should have had a chance aren't going to get it, just out of the economics of it. So I'm dubious that it would. But right now, it's neck and neck between this show and Hawkeye, which I wasn't all that crazy about. Are the best of these. Amazing as that is, and it is. It really shouldn't be that way. WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier have been the best of the best, but they destroyed those deliberately. Destroyed those shows, sabotaged them really, and are proud to say they did, especially in the case of WandaVision. Here, it looks like they fixed it, but it's just Ms. Marvel is not on par with, you know, Captain America or Spider-Man or something like that, you know. So it, you know, it's just so many. It's like you got to climb Mount Everest, and still you don't make it. So that's, you know, the way it is. But anyway, it's a fine show, you know, and that's just too bad. But this is the situation we're in, and that's unfortunate.